Hello, I'm Sierra Scott. Welcome to It's All Good. This is a show dedicated to people, places, companies, and organizations that are working hard to make the world a better place to live. This may be the ultimate comeback story, a story that proves it's never too late to rise again. And no matter how bad things get, you can overcome it. Imagine being the best in the world at something not only once, but twice. Being asked to be in a Rocky movie by Sylvester Stallone himself, and then in one moment to have it all taken away. In 1996, doctors told boxer Tommy Morrison he was going to die, and his life changed forever.
If you're living your life the right way, according to God's will for your life, instead of your will for your life, then you can do anything. I mean, I believe that 100%. I mean, because I've accomplished things in my life that I never thought I'd be able to accomplish. You know, and it wasn't because of what I did, it was because of a personal relationship with Christ. He allowed me to do these things.
Things that most of us never even think about achieving.
I've always had a deep desire to do something with my life.
And he certainly did, but that certainly doesn't mean it was easy.
Well, Tommy Morrison has made his own break, Jim. This fight was really about whether he can fight, whether he is a world-class fighter.
You know, me and my mother have always been extremely close. And, you know, she's been the oak that's, you know, that's helped me weather a lot of storms.
And as you're going to learn, he's had more than his fair share of storms. A lesser man would have never survived it. As high as the highs were, the lows were infinitely lower.
Releases highlighting boxing's newest attraction, Tommy the Duke Morrison.
To really understand what Tommy has overcome, we start at the beginning. Tommy Morrison was born on January 2nd of 1969 to Tim and Flossie Diane Morrison. He was the third and youngest child of the family.
I was a pretty good kid.
A pretty good kid with a pretty good punch.
Well, I got into a fist fight when I was 5 years old at the drive-in. I remember, you know, after it was over with, walking and feeling the rush that I felt by doing that. You know, I mean, I was just, was excited about it.
You could say that ability was in his genes.
My grandfather was one fight away from fighting Henry Armstrong for the world championship back in, you know, back in like the 50s. And then he quit and became a preacher.
We can hear that leather popping.
See what I mean? This kid can bang.
Felt like that I had, you know, a skill that had been basically untapped, you know.
But Tommy didn't get a chance to prove that for a few more years. It was December of '76 to be exact. At that time, he was just 7 years old. It was a Saturday night smoker fight. He won that fight and kept on winning.
Had a lot of amateur fights. I had about 242 amateur fights. 222-20 was my record as an amateur, which is pretty amazing. You know, I just didn't lose very often. You know, I mean, losing was not a part of my makeup as a child and even as an adult.
At 13 years old, despite all his success, Tommy walked away from the sport. So what led him down this path? As we all know, there are so many things that shape our lives, but nothing seems to shape us more than the family we grow up in.
My childhood wasn't the greatest in the world. You know, I mean, I saw a lot of violence and a lot of abuse. You know, my mother went through a murder trial when I was like 4 years old. And, you know, they accused her of murdering a woman in a bar, stabbing her to death. And, you know, so for a period of 9 months, when I was young, you know, I went through that 9 month period, you know, without my mother ever being there. You know, I mean, I used to go to the county jail, and my dad would lift me up, and you know, I remember this little bitty square box. You know, I could see her, but I couldn't touch her and I couldn't hear her. But that was my visitation to my mom for 9 months, was just looking at her, you know, and that was that really rocked my world. But that was, ever since then, it seems like things have always not been easy. You know, I don't remember anything ever being easy in my life.
His mother was acquitted on that murder charge, but that didn't mean his life got any easier. Tommy says his father was on the road a lot, which he says was actually preferable to having him at home, since he would beat his mother when he was around.
I came in one from school, and I liked, to watch cartoons, and she was asleep on the couch, but she was facing the back, facing the wall. So I turned the TV on, turned the volume down low, and I'm sitting there watching, and her, she rolled around over there, she rolled around and faced me, and I looked at her, and I got scared. I didn't know who it was. I had no idea who is this thing on my couch, and it was her. And I recognized her because she had a little tattoo across her forearm that said Tim, which is my dad's name. And I got up and I was like, tears were just hanging in my eyes. And she looked at me, through slits in her eyes, I guess. And then she rolled back over, to the wall. And I couldn't keep my tears in, I'm like, Mom, we've got to leave. He's going to kill you. She said, I know. She said, you're right. And I just hugged her and, we both cried. And I'll never forget that, and from that moment on, my life was different.
Because his father was so violent, his older brother and sister would get out of the house as soon as he returned.
I wanted to leave too, but who's going to protect her? My mom. I was at the age then where I could pick up a bat and club him in the head if I had to, which I thought about doing. I thought about killing my dad a couple of times.
After years of breakups and reunions, Tommy's father finally left for good.
We needed to eat, so I quit school, which was illegal. When you're 13 years old, I just finished the 8th grade and moved out to Western Oklahoma and got a job in a construction company.
He went back to school a year later, which put him a grade behind all of his friends.
It ended up being a pretty positive experience because it gave me another year to mature and to get stronger for football, which is what I thought I wanted to do. My senior year in high school, my mother wanted me to fight in the Kansas City Golden Gloves because I was the only one in my family that hadn't won it.
Well, that was soon to change. 2 weeks later, he was fighting for the national title in Omaha, Nebraska.
In the finals, the night that my high school class graduated, so I never went to my graduation. My mom still got my cap and gown in a box.
The year was 1988, which interestingly enough was also an Olympic year. 2 weeks after winning the National Golden Gloves title, Tommy found himself competing in the Western Olympic trials in Houston, Texas. That's where he
knocked everybody out there, one of the most outstanding fighter of the tournament. And then from there, 2 weeks after that, I went to the Olympic trials, which is in Concord, California, where they have the top 8 fighters in every weight class. Well, I was the last guy to fill the bracket. I was number 8, and the number 8 guy fights the number 1 guy.
That number 1 guy happened to be Ray Mercer, one of the rare fights Tommy lost, a fight he lost in a split decision.
He went on to win the gold medal that year. You only get better by competing against people that are better than you.
On November 10th of 1988, Tommy officially turned pro. He was only 6 or 7 months out of high school at the time.
Morrison may have watched ESPN when he was a kid, but Tommy, tonight you're on ESPN, and you fought extremely well tonight, showing us, I think, maybe the best left hook you've shown as a pro.
Well, I feel that's something we work on a lot. You're staying busy on the inside. I think
during his journey to the top, his rising star caught the attention of Sylvester Stallone's brother, who knew Sylvester was casting for his next movie.
He was sitting at home one night watching ESPN, and he saw me fight. Then he saw me in an after-fight interview, so I could speak. It was, somewhat articulate, and could speak in complete sentences like a lot of them can't.
His next accomplishment was a role in the movie Rocky V. That was in 1989. Tommy was only 19 at the time. So what made Tommy different? Why was he so much more successful than other fighters?
I just overpowered him. Went out and and overwhelmed a lot of people. I was a quick starter, you know, and a lot of heavyweights, you know, they play around for 3 or 4 rounds before they really start fighting or feeling each other out, and I've never been one of those people. You know, I watch the films, I know exactly what they're open for, what their weaknesses are, and I go out and exploit it right off the bat.
Tommy says it wasn't until he fought ex-world champion Pinklin Thomas that people started to take him seriously.
Then then people started saying, "Oh, no, wait a minute, you know, this kid ain't bad." You know, I mean, a lot of people thought I was just another Jerry Cooney, you know, somebody that had a little bit of power, but I had skill to go along with it.
Tommy Morrison's first fight with Bill Caton at the helm is a rousing success.
Now, some people are willing to go the extra mile, and some people aren't. You know, I'm willing to go the extra 3 miles, you know, and that's what separates me from most people. I just do whatever it takes to get the job done. You create a pattern, you create a habit over a period of a lifetime. I knock everybody out, though. I know, I'm thinking fighting all the time. I've been doing it for 32 years of my life. So it's a part of me, you know, it's a part of my genetic makeup. It's been, you know, in my family for generations, and that's what I do, you know, and I'm good at it. My body is just tougher than most people's, and a lot of it, you know, your mind tells your body what to do. You know, it's not the other way around. It's a dangerous sport. I mean, you're putting your life on the line every time you step in there. You know, you get hit with the right shot, the right angle, and you know, you'd be drooling and pooping in a bag for the rest of your life.
All the preparation that Tommy does not only saves his life, it helped catapult him to the top.
You know, I always do better at something than I'm supposed to.
This one is going to be quick. Talk fast here.
He certainly did better than 99% of the people who attempt to excel in this field. To this day, Tommy has a 51-3-1 professional record, winning 45 of those bouts by knockout, which is one of the highest knockout percentages in boxing history.
Morrison can pretty much just walk in and throw that hook, and he does have a devastating left hook.
Well, that's it.
You know, there's a lot of notoriety and you know, the fame, but I never really bought into any of that. I could give, you know, 2 squirts of duck poop for being famous. I mean, it's just not my deal. I just like to enjoy what I'm good at.
In fact, he was so good, he won not 1, but 2 heavyweight championship fights. But what Tommy found is that when he finally made it to the top, it wasn't as great as he always imagined it would be.
You know, even when I became world champion, beat George Foreman, one of the legends of the sport, it just didn't mean anything to me. You know, I just expected things to be different. You know, I mean, here I was the first white heavyweight champion since Rocky Marciano, and I think that was like back in 1956 or 57. And it just meant nothing to me. I don't know why. I've always questioned that, and I haven't told that to too many people yet.
You have now.
But it just, and then you know, in '95 I won another one. You know, knocked out Razor Ruddock in a spectacular performance, you know, in Kansas City.
Then, just when it looked like all the years of hard work, dedication, and sacrifice were about to pay off in a big way, things took a 180-degree turn.
I just signed a $38.5 million contract to fight Tyson. You know, to fight 2 warm-up fights and then fight him right out of prison.
But before that fight, Tommy had to undergo a blood test, the results of which would forever change his destiny. Stay with us.